The day my daughter threw me out of my own house. I didn't fight. I didn't scream. I didn't even ask her to stop. I simply picked up my suitcase and walked away because she believed the house belonged to her. She believed I was just an old man who had become a burden. But what she didn't know was that I had already changed everything. And 3 months later, when she discovered the truth about the house, she realized the biggest mistake of her life wasn't throwing me out. It was forgetting who built everything she had. My name is Thomas Walker. I'm 67 years old, and for most of my life, I believed one thing. Family is the only thing you can build that money cannot replace. I spent my entire life working so my daughter, Emma, would have an easier life than I did. I grew up with very little. My father passed away when I was young. My mother worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. I remember watching her come home exhausted every night, but still smiling because she wanted me to believe everything was okay. That memory stayed with me. And when I became a father, I made a promise. My child would never know that kind of struggle. When Emma was born, everything changed. I wasn't interested in buying expensive things for myself. I didn't care about luxury cars. I didn't care about vacations. Every dollar I earned had a purpose. Her education, her future, her dreams. I worked for 40 years as a construction engineer. Long days, hard work, missed holidays, missed birthdays. There were nights when Emma would fall asleep waiting for me to come home. And I hated that. But I always told myself, one day, she will understand why I did this. After years of saving, I bought our family home. It wasn't just a house. It was the place where Emma took her first steps, where we celebrated birthdays, where we sat together during. One day this house would become her home. But life doesn't always go the way you imagine. As Emma grew older, she changed. At first, it was small things. She stopped visiting as often. She stopped asking about my health. Our conversations became shorter. And slowly, I felt like I was becoming a stranger to my own daughter. I tried to ignore it, because parents do that. We forgive things we wouldn't forgive from anyone else. We make excuses. She's busy. She's stressed. She'll come around. Then one day, Emma arrived at my house with her husband. I was happy to see her. I thought maybe things were finally getting better. I made coffee. I prepared dinner. I was excited. But then she sat across from me and said something I never expected. "Dad, we need to talk about the house." I smiled. "What about it?" She looked at her husband, then back at me. "We think it's time you move somewhere smaller." For a second, I thought I heard her wrong. "Move?" She nodded. "You don't need a house this big anymore." I looked around the room. The same room where I watched her grow up. The same place where I held her when she was sick. And suddenly, it didn't feel like my home anymore. Her husband added, "We can take care of the property. It makes more sense for us to live here." I stared at them, not because they wanted the house, but because they forgot something. This wasn't just a building. This was my entire life. I asked Emma one question. "Do you really want me to leave?" She didn't hesitate, and that was the part that hurt the most. "Yes, Dad. I think it's best." That night, I packed my suitcase. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't remind her about everything I sacrificed, because I realized something painful. You can give someone your entire life, but you cannot force them to appreciate it. Before leaving, I stopped at the front door. I looked back one last time, and I said quietly, "Emma, I hope you remember this day." She looked confused. "What does that mean?" I smiled. "It means one day you'll understand why I didn't fight." Then I walked away, and for the first time in 40 years, I stopped being the father who gave everything. I became the man who finally protected himself. I thought leaving that house would be the hardest thing I ever. But you don't know what your daughter doesn't know. He opened the folder. Inside were documents I had created years ago. Documents that changed everything. You see, when I bought that house, I didn't just put my name on the property. I created a trust. A family trust. The house was never simply mine. It was protected, and there was one condition. The person who inherited the house would only receive ownership if they respected the person who sacrificed everything to build that life. Michael looked at me. "Thomas, Emma doesn't legally own that house." I stayed silent. She never did. For a moment, I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel like I had one. Because this wasn't about the house. It was about something much deeper. My daughter didn't lose a property. She lost the meaning behind it. Then Michael said something else. There's another part. I looked up. What part? He handed me another document. Your father did something similar for you. I froze. My father, he nodded. He wanted to make sure you learned the same lesson. My father had left me a letter when he passed away. I had forgotten about it. Michael opened the envelope and read the words my father wrote years ago. Thomas, the greatest mistake a person can make is believing love means allowing people to hurt you forever. I sat there quietly because suddenly everything made sense. My father wasn't teaching me how to protect my money. He was teaching me how to protect my worth. 3 weeks later, Emma finally discovered the truth. Her bank refused the loan she was trying to take against the house. The lawyer contacted her, and for the first time, she realized something. The house she believed she had taken was never hers. That evening, my phone rang. I looked at the screen. It was Emma, my daughter, the same person who didn't call when I left, the same person who didn't ask if I was okay. Now she needed something. I answered. Hello. There was silence. Then I heard her voice. Dad. I closed my eyes, because after everything, hearing her say that word still affected me. I need to talk to you. I looked out the window, at the city lights, at my new life, and I asked the question I'd been waiting months to ask. What? She started crying, and then she said, I made a mistake. But she didn't know that forgiveness was possible, but things would never go back to the way they were. Because sometimes, the person who hurts you the most is the person who teaches you to finally choose yourself. I held the phone in my hand, but I didn't answer the way I would have months ago. The old Thomas would have forgotten everything. He would have rushed back. He would have fixed the problem. Because that's what fathers do. They forgive. They sacrifice. They protect. But the man standing there now was different. I had finally learned that love doesn't mean letting someone destroy your peace. I took a deep breath and said, Emma, I need you to understand something. This isn't about the house. It's about the moment you forgot the person who built it for you. And for the first time, my daughter had nothing to say. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. I could hear her breathing through the phone, and I knew she was waiting for me to say the words she wanted to hear. It's okay. I forgive you. Come home. But those words didn't come. Because some wounds don't heal just because someone finally notices they hurt you. I said, Emma, do you remember the night you asked me to leave? She became quiet. I packed one suitcase that night. I walked away from the home I built for 40 years. But the thing I lost wasn't the house. It was the feeling that I mattered to my own daughter. Her voice started shaking. Dad, I never meant to hurt you. I looked down, and I whispered, sometimes people don't mean to break your heart. They just forget they're holding it. And that was the moment she finally understood. The biggest thing she lost wasn't the house. It was me. Emma stayed silent for a long time. And honestly, I didn't know what I expected from that conversation. Maybe I expected an apology. Maybe I expected her to finally understand the pain she caused. But a part of me knew something important. You can't force someone to understand your sacrifice. They have to discover it themselves. Dad, her voice was softer now. I was wrong. Those 3 words meant something, but they didn't erase everything. Because forgiveness is not about pretending nothing happened. It's about accepting what happened and deciding what you do next. I told her, Emma, do you know what hurt me the most? She didn't answer. It wasn't leaving the house. It wasn't losing the place where I made all those memories. The hardest part was realizing my own daughter could watch me walk away and not stop me. She started crying, and for the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt sadness, because I wasn't looking at an enemy. I was looking at my little girl, the same girl I used to carry on my shoulders. Before ending the call, I said, I hope one day you understand something. Parents don't need your money. They don't need your success. They only need to know that after everything they gave, they still matter. And that night, for the first time in months, my phone rang because my daughter wanted me. Not because she needed something. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. For years, my morning started with work, meetings, deadlines, responsibilities. But that morning was different. For the first time in decades, I had nothing to prove. And strangely, that felt peaceful. A few hours later, there was a knock on my door. I already knew who it was. When I opened it, Emma was standing there. No expensive clothes, No confidence. No actitud. Just my daughter, looking like someone who finally understood the damage she had caused. Dad. She looked around my small apartment, and I could see the realization on her face. This was the place where I lived after leaving the home I built. The home she took from me. I didn't know you were living like this. I smiled slightly. Because you never asked. Those words hurt her. I could see it. She sat down, and for the first time in a long time, we had a real conversation. Not about money. Not about the house. Not about what she wanted. Just two people talking. A father and a daughter. She told me she regretted everything. She told me she was so focused on creating her own comfortable life that she forgot who sacrificed to create hers. I listened quietly because deep down, I want to believe her. But trust is like a broken mirror. You can put the pieces back together, but the cracks remind you what happened. Before she left, she asked, "Can you ever forgive me?" I looked at my daughter, the little girl I once carried in my arms, and I said, "I already did. But forgiveness doesn't mean we go back to who we were. It means we build something better from here." And for the first time, Emma understood. The house was never the thing I wanted back. I only wanted my daughter to remember that behind every sacrifice, there was a father who only wanted to be loved.